Welcome to the program. My name is Alexander Kerry. The past few months in a run-up to the French presidential elections have been turbulent, to say the least. At the start of the campaign, many analysts believed the choice would inevitably be between the two leading political parties, the most centrist En Marche and the far-right National Front. Meanwhile, another contender, François Fillon, has been engulfed in scandal. The presidential elections in France in April will determine the future relations between Paris and Kiev. Joining us in the studio to discuss this is French economist Pascal de Lima. Hi. Can you hear me?
Hi.
So let's start with the French election. How would you define each of the presidential candidates' economic program? What is their difference and are they viable in an international perspective?
Yes, the main difference is that we have François Fillon, which is the candidate of the companies, the candidate of the offer. And the main French problems for François Fillon deals with the competitivity and the deficit, the trade deficit. So we have to improve tax devaluation, 44 billions for companies, tax devaluation for all the international French companies, and of course, to diminish tax charges. That's the main problem for François Fillon.
Right, so
At the other side, we have Macron.
Mm-hmm.
At the other side, we have Macron, which makes another diagnostic of the French problem. And for Macron, the French problem is that we are at the end of the wage war, which means that he thinks that more and more people won't have only wage revenues in the future. So we have to improve entrepreneurship, and we have to liberate regulation and the market goods, and of course in the labor market. That's the main two candidates and the main two different problems, different economic diagnostic for France.
What about National Front? Because far-right parties tend to blame immigration for unemployment. So what do you think about this statement?
Well, when we see the economic studies, there is no link between unemployment and immigration. There is no correlation. Economics says there is no correlation. Why? There is only one very simple fact to show that. A lot of €1 jobs, we say €1 jobs in France, a lot of €1 jobs, the small salaries, are occupied by foreigners or former immigrants and not by French.
Yeah, French won't do those jobs.
Of course. If these types of jobs were not occupied, the unemployment should be very higher. So there is no correlation between that. That's the main fact.
And going to about Ukraine right now, how do you see the Ukrainian economic market now as it is?
Well, the economic Ukrainian market has strengths, very positive strengths, and of course, the economic Ukrainian market has also weakness. So the strengths, the positive facts for Ukrainian markets is that the qualified labor, of course, the qualified labor is an advantage, very competitive advantages for Ukrainian, and of course the international financial helps. That's the two main positive facts. Agriculture, of course, the Ukrainian agriculture is important for the countries. But the main problems, and it's a real weakness, is of course indebtedness and the very low level of diversification. The economy is not very diversified, and that's of course a problem for Ukraine.
And IT startups are growing stronger in Ukraine. Do you think that kind of technological information economy will help the country to stabilize?
Yes, the innovation is one of the solutions, of course, for Ukraine to stabilize economy, but certainly not enough. We have to improve structural reforms to identify comparative advantages of Ukraine, and above all, of course, we have to improve political stability. Why political stability? Because it's the main condition to attract investors and to construct a very solid country.
And do you think the Ukrainian market is strong enough to benefit? Would you think the Ukrainian market would benefit from European standards and is strong enough actually to come into the European standards?
Yes, that we have some problems, of course, in Ukraine in relation with the standards, European standards. Sorry, first the inflation rate is very high, much above the 2%, the inflation rate. The public deficit is above 3%. The indebtedness and the public debt is above 60%. So we have now the main criteria to integrate European Union and of course the Eurozone. And it's important for you, I think, for Ukraine to integrate not only the European Union but the Eurozone to have stability and to have investment, international investment. So I think it's a little complicated today to imagine that Ukraine could integrate the Eurozone and the European Union. We have above all to stabilize the
political situation.
Political aspects. Yes.
Some of the critics of the visa-free Ukraine program are that Ukrainian citizens might flee their own country to flood Western Europe and creating a new problematic wave of immigration. What is your opinion on this subject?
Well, my simple opinion is that we have a lot of qualified immigration from Ukraine, and that could boost European countries and stimulate growth. It's not the same immigration from Brazil, for example. So it's important to have, in these countries, like in the Western countries, we have enough problems, we have competitive problems. So it's very logical to have qualified immigrants, so that qualified immigrants could also stimulate the new digital jobs in Western country, and of course to stimulate growth, to stimulate receipts, public receipts, and that's the main point to say in my own point of view.
Now going to more international subjects, especially America, based on the American model, democracy is strongly linked to liberal economy. Would you say economic protectionism is a path to dictatorship?
I don't think that the protectionism is a real problem. The main problem is to improve only the economic protectionism. Otherwise, we can have some very specialized protectionism, which is very compatible with liberalism. And the main economics, there is a lot of economics that say that it's possible to have small protectionism in very special domains, but not a general protectionism. We have not in general protectionism in this actual mondialization and liberalization. It's not possible, you know. So the liberalization is the main core economic structure. And this liberalization, we can a little bit to improve protectionism in relation with China, for example.
Mm-hmm. We were speaking about democracy here. Do you think French democracy, and to a certain extent, European democracy as we see it in Western countries, can or could resist to the Russian authoritarian value, to the Russian model?
Yeah. I think it's possible, of course, but we have to cooperate. It's very important with the United States. The European Union must cooperate with the United States. For example, in the TAFTA trade agreement with Canada also, we must very be conscious that the United States and Canada are our partnership, our historical partnership. And the dangers is to consider that the United States with Trump is not our partnership, our main historical partnership. It's very important today to think about that.
Mm. So the main point would be not to forget history to go to the future.
Of course. Yes,
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Mr. De Lima. It was a pleasure for this discussion. Joining us on UATV was Pascal de Lima. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned.